Salisu Mohammed aka Dogo Saleh, a 21-years-old bandits kingpin that has been terrorizing Nigerians along the Kaduna, Lokoja and Enugu Highway, was earlier in the month traced and arrested by men of the Nigeria police force, but, after he was captured by the Special Police Security Operatives, the Federal Capital Territory, FCT Police Command said some of his gang members laid ambush against the police operatives, which led to exchange of gunfire, and eventually, the arrested bandits kingpin, Dogo Saleh, sustained gunshot injuries from the bullets fired by his gang members who came for his rescue during the gun battle with the police, and he was pronounced dead when he was rushed to the hospital for treatment. The age of the suspected bandits leader may be another pointer that most heinous crimes in Nigeria are committed by underage children who are often misled into the crime by adults. This may explain further that since the beginning of the year, when one of the state governors in the West Africa country, Governor Charles Chukwuma Soludo of Anambra State, decided to take the war against criminality to the doorsteps of a group of suspected criminally minded people known as Babalawo, or spiritual native doctors, believed to be the ones luring the underage children into crime with the magical practice of okite, which gives them the belief they can't be caught and police bullets wouldn't penetrate them. Cases of kidnapping and other crimes apparently have reduced in the southeast state. Our crime reporters observed and reported that the high rate of kidnapping and killings usually prevalent in Anambra State, especially along the Onitsha-Owerri Federal Road, has come almost to a halt since January 17, 2025, when Governor Soludo went harder on the suspected root causes of crimes in the state, the Babalawos, or spiritual native doctors. Our editorial team also observed that the Anambra State Police Command now go to schools and other public places for enlightenment and campaign awareness against crime, most especially calling on the residents to stop the every Monday sit-at-home order. But the Biafra secessionist armed groups have continued to issue threats of attack if the weekly sit-at-home is not obeyed until the detained Biafra agitation leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, is released. Interestingly, major arrests made by Anambra State Police Command recently over the kidnapping and subsequent killing of the State House of Assembly lawmaker, Honorable Justice Azuka, indicated that some heinous crimes in the state are committed by underage children, as most of the suspects were mainly 19 years old, indicating they were already into high-profile criminal acts when they were not up to the constitutional age of 18. Similarly, two of the arrested suspects behind the kidnapping and killing of Honorable Justice Azuka escaped from the police custody in a manner the Anambra State Police Command believed that the police operatives under whose custody the two suspects escaped have case to answer. The police command, through the person of the command public relations officer, Tochukwu Akenga, in a TV interview on February 28, 2025, said that the entire police personnel who went on the operation were arrested and detained because there were more professional ways they could have carried out the operation without going with the escaped suspects. According to the Punch newspaper, a 21-year-old notorious bandit leader, Salisu Mohammed, popularly known as Dogo Saleh, met his end at the hands of his gang members after being arrested by the operatives of FCT Police Command. Dogo Saleh, identified as a hitman for criminal gangs operating in Rajana Forest, Kaduna State, had been responsible for multiple kidnappings and killings along the Kaduna-Lokoja Enugu Highway. The FCT Command spokesperson, Josephine Ade, issued a statement on Wednesday stating that police acting on intelligence conducted a covert operation to intercept Dogo Saleh at Gideon Abe Forest on March 3, while he was en route to Bwari Area Council, FCT. Ade stated that during the initial encounter, police operatives arrested Dogo Saleh, recovering an AK-49 rifle, 2 magazines, 60 rounds of live ammunition, and 3 million nairas suspected to be ransom proceeds. She added that after gathering from the arrested suspect, the anti-kidnapping unit of the command launched a follow-up raid on March 4, 2025, at a known bandit hideout in Kwesau Forest, Kagako local government area, Kaduna State, where his gang, led by one Abdu Musa, alias Canavaro, had established a major hideout. She noted that operatives were ambushed by armed bandits attempting to free their leader. The operatives swiftly engaged the criminals in a fierce gun battle, displaying superior tactical expertise and resilience. The bandits were ultimately overpowered and forced to flee into the forest with severe gunshot wounds. The suspect sustained fatal gunshot wounds inflicted by his own gang during the crossfire. He was rushed to Kaduna General Hospital, where he was confirmed dead, Ade said. Stating the criminal activities linked to Dogo Saleh, Ade said he was responsible for the abduction of a police officer's family and the killing of 2 security personnel in a January 5, 2025 attack at Kojama Market, Kaduna. Other attacks linked to Dogo Saleh include Kayuta Village, Chikun Local Government Area. 2 years ago, 2 individuals, including a security officer, were kidnapped. Ransom collected, millions of naira. The officer was later killed. Kaik Village, 1 year ago, a security officer's wife was kidnapped. Ransom collected, millions of naira. Bagada Village, 5 months ago, 3 individuals kidnapped. Ransom collected, millions of naira. Village near Kaduna Refinery, 1 year ago, 2 men kidnapped. Ransom collected, millions of naira. Karuga Village, Chikun Local Government Area, 1 year ago, 1 person kidnapped. Ransom collected, millions of naira. Bagado Village, Chikun Local Government Area, 11 months ago, ransom collected, millions of naira. And Dan Bushia Village, 2 years ago, ransom collected, millions of naira, she stated. Ade also said his gang was also known for working with the Ansaru terrorist group to procure weapons. She stated that Boka, the overall commander, Shami, surname unknown, deputy, Dogo Saleh, assistant, and Gooden, an assistant who operated a sub-camp in the forest, had been eliminated in separate operations. The bandits' hideout was successfully dislodged. One officer, the inspector of the FCT anti-kidnapping unit, sustained minor injuries and has since been treated and discharged. No other casualties were recorded, she added. Ade said the FCT Commissioner of Police, Olatunji Disu, praised the officers for their bravery and assured residents of ongoing operations to capture fleeing gang members. He urged the public to report suspicious activities via police emergency lines.
Zoka himself, of blessed memory, is also involved.
So you people allow criminals to drive, while police are now the conductors?
Those policemen shouldn't have gone with those suspects to the scene. There are so many other strategies to arrest that Mr. Akolisa. So it should have been prevented. In the issue of preventing it, you understand that destiny can be changed.
You're admitting, say, police fuck up.
You can't be police more than us. All the officers involved in that operation is currently in custody, while we have activated other team to make sure that the suspect that is on the run, we will rearrest them. Anambra State Police Command is more pained than what you are feeling now. We have nothing to hide. It's still us that came out and let the members of the public know. It is still us that is still giving members of the public to know that we are pained in this process. And part of what we are doing, it will also give us edge to make people to trust us again, just as we have been preaching.
How is it possible that unarmed 2 young boys, they are not professional athletes, they are not professional runners, they are not people that have gone to Olympic and came back? How do you want the public to believe and accept that people that are on their foot outrun police officers that are trained though, that should be running better than them, and then given that they are with guns too, that you can shoot and the person just for up, the person stops running, then talk more of that you can even shoot the person? How do you want the public to actually understand that they outrun police officers that are with guns that can shoot them down?
When something wants to happen, it will happen. My style of policing is preventive policing, except it is destined to happen. But first of all, I must prevent it. I'm not, I said, let's not be passionate about this, because Anambra State Police Command is more pained than what you are feeling now. Remember, the family, the community, the constituency he represents, we also need to explain to them. So why I say that my style of policing is preventive policing, except it's destined to happen. In that context, is saying that those policemen shouldn't have gone with those suspects to the scene. There are so many other strategies to arrest that Mr. Akolisa. So it should have been prevented. So in the issue of preventing it, you understand that destiny can be changed. So now, in the context of you saying that the policemen, they are trained, the suspects are not Olympic, they are not athletes that should have run. Remember, these are criminals. In as much as we are not making excuses for them running away, but we are also blaming our officers for that unprofessional act. So the context of here, trying to explain on how it happened and how it not happened, we have done that. But please, trust us again. We are doing everything possible to make sure that these suspects are back.
For how long? Are we working with any time frame? Are you saying give us 7 days? Are you saying give us 2 weeks? Or is it indefinite?
It's not indefinite. So, since that incident happened, the command has been coming up with updates on what we are doing.
This happened on February 8th, right?
Yes.
And today is 28th of February. That is 20 days
20
after.
days, yes.
And people are still saying that we should trust you again. It is 3 weeks.
Yes. Why I'm saying this is because it happened on 8th. Part of what the command is investigating is also to know why the policemen that are involved in this operation did not let the management team know about this incident for 10 days. So we are still grilling that part to know whether there is conspiracy or not.
Do you think there is?
Investigation will unveil. So there are so many things that we are looking at. That is the part of we calling on members of the public to trust us. Remember, it is still Anambra State Police Command that came out and let the members of the public know that the suspects that we have in our custody, in the course of going for an operation to arrest another to escape.
After more than a week, people did not come.
It took days. In as much as it took days, but we still said it. Then on the part of it took days, the operatives that are involved in that operation are currently in custody. Part of what we are doing is to know why they conceal that information.
I'm asking you, how do we know that these police officers are in custody and they are being drilled and grilled, just like you're saying? Because you people can come and say anything.
See,
how do we know that they are in custody?
You are saying this on the space of distrust, but I am telling you to trust us again. And for policemen to go on the process of the level of what you are saying now, being dictated, made public, is a process. When we get to that extent, we'll do that process. But for now, I just don't want to say all our strategy, but we ask questions. We interview them one after the other to get facts and discrepancies of what they said previously and what they are currently saying now. So these are things that we are doing. And remember, the senior officers among them have been queried, and part of the query is to respond. Then on our own, we have taken their statements because we are treating them as suspects now.
Trust is
a double-edged sword.
Yes, and it's a process.
Yes,
it's a process.
It's end.
Yes, it's end.
It's end.
It's not
for us to get to this stage. Part of what you have to know, and our followers to know this, is that we have nothing to hide. It's still us that came out and let the members of the public know. It is still us that is still giving members of the public and our followers to know that we are pained in this process. And part of what we are doing, and we know it will also give us edge to make people to trust us again, just as we have been preaching, is to rearrest these suspects. And I'm telling you that we are doing everything legally possible to make sure that these suspects are in custody.
One of the main reasons why we invited you here today is to talk about the trending matter of Honorable Justice Azoka, the member representing Onitsha North 1 constituency that was gruesomely murdered after being kidnapped and detained for some days and everything. There are so many things to the story. So now I'm asking you, as the police PRO, you are speaking for the police. What happened to Honorable Justice Azuka? Please go ahead.
Honorable Justice Azuka, I pray that God will grant him peace. Also know that Anambra State Police Command is doing everything possible to make sure that those behind this don't go unpunished. The command is pained by his demise, and we are also making sure that those people that are behind this gruesome murder will never go unpunished.
President Volodymyr Zelensky has listed and disclosed the 3 key points in the proposal the Ukrainian delegation submitted to the United States U.S. team, which included the transfer and release of prisoners, stoppage of bombings both on the sea and skies, and the release of women and children forcefully taken to Russia based on the command of President Vladimir Putin, when the Ukrainian delegates led by the head of the presidential office, Andriy Yermak, Foreign Minister, Andriy Sybiha, Defense Minister, Rustem Umerov, and military official, Pavlo Palitsa met in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on Tuesday with the representatives of the U.S., which included the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, President Donald Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and Trump's advisor, Mike Waltz. President Zelensky, in a statement on Tuesday after the meeting, praised and thanked the U.S. for proposing 30-day ceasefire on all front lines. According to President Volodymyr Zelensky, I received a report from our delegation on their meeting with the American team in Saudi Arabia. The discussion lasted most of the day and was good and constructive. Our teams were able to discuss many important details. Our position remains absolutely clear. Ukraine has been seeking peace from the very first second of this war, and we want to do everything to achieve it as soon as possible and in a reliable way, so that war does not return. At this meeting with the Americans, Ukraine proposed 3 key points: silence in the skies, stopping missile strikes, bombs, and long-range drone attacks, silence at sea, real confidence-building measures in this whole situation, in which diplomacy is ongoing, which primarily means the release of prisoners of war and detainees, both military and civilian, and the return of Ukrainian children who were forcibly transferred to Russia. The American side understands our arguments and considers our proposals. I am grateful to President Trump for the constructive conversation between our teams. During today's talks, the U.S. side proposed taking an even bigger first step, a 30-day full interim ceasefire, not only stopping missile, drone, and bomb attacks, not only in the Black Sea, but also along the entire front line. Ukraine is ready to accept this proposal. We see it as a positive step and are ready to take it. Now, it is up to the United States to convince Russia to do the same. If Russia agrees, the ceasefire will take effect immediately. A day earlier, President Zelensky, after meeting with the Crown of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, issued a statement and said that he had a good meeting with Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud. Grateful for the wise view of the international situation and for the support for Ukraine. It was very important to hear words of confidence in the Ukrainian future. We discussed all the main issues on the agenda, both bilaterally and with other partners. I noted the efforts of Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud, which help bring real peace closer. Saudi Arabia provides a very important platform for diplomacy, and we appreciate that. The Ukrainian team remains in Jeddah to work with the American team on Tuesday, March 11th, and we hope for a practical outcome. The Ukrainian position at the meeting will be absolutely constructive. We discussed in great detail with Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud the steps and conditions that could end the war and make peace reliable and lasting. He particularly emphasized the issue of releasing prisoners and returning children, which could be one of the key measures to establish trust in diplomatic efforts. A significant part of the conversation was devoted to the formats of security guarantees. We appreciate Saudi Arabia's readiness to develop economic cooperation and invest in Ukraine. We discussed key sectors for investment, starting with security, energy and infrastructure. We equally see opportunities for economic development and interaction through reconstruction in Ukraine. The Crown Prince spoke about Saudi Arabia's ambitious economic strategy, and we wish our partners success. We are ready to cooperate. We are confident that the interaction between our countries and regions adds strength to both our peoples and the entire world, Zelensky stated. We have reported that more than 25 persons have been reportedly killed during the week in Ukraine since President Vladimir Putin of Russia scale up and double his offensive attacks on the neighboring European country, with President Donald Trump continuing during the week to block more U.S. military aid to the troubled country and making statements seemingly capable of demoralizing Ukrainian troops and probably inciting the entire Ukrainian citizens against their president, Volodymyr Zelensky, just as reports indicated that in the last 3 days, Russia troops have advanced, reaching some territories in the Kursk region, and they are about encircling the thousands of Ukrainian troops who had last summer stormed and took over the Russia-Kursk region by surprise in anticipation to use the conquered Russia-Kursk region as leverage to be able to hold meaningful negotiations with Moscow in any peace talks. This, as unverified and unsubstantiated rumors have spread widely in the North America country, the U.S., that President Donald Trump was one of the U.S. businessmen contracted in 1987 as Russia spy, with Alnur Musiev, the former Kazakhstan National Security Committee, KNB head and former Kazakh intelligence chief who served in the 6th Directorate in Moscow of the KGB, a Russian-language abbreviation for State Security Committee, which was the main internal security agency for the Soviet Union from 1954 until its breakup in 1991, insisting that recruiting Western businessmen was a top priority for Soviet intelligence. And Donald Trump was allegedly recruited by his department as a spy against the United States with a nickname, Krasnov. We have reported that President Vladimir Putin-led Russia apparently has taken advantage of the lapses coming from the United States, US, that has been its secret war rival since 1945, following the actions of President Donald Trump turning US back on Ukraine by thus stopping and blocking military aid and military intelligence to Ukraine, and obviously made Putin to launch massive drone, cruise and ballistic missile attacks on Ukraine, with some US citizens narrowly escaping deaths on Wednesday night when Russia struck a hotel with a ballistic missile that travels 5 times faster than the speed of sound, killing 4 persons and reportedly injured over 30 others at Kryvyi Rih city, with the Ukrainian military saying they were able to repel all other missiles but could not repel the ballistic airstrikes, according to BBC. This Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that the France F-16 jets and Mirage aircrafts were used to defend the Ukrainian skies, adding that the France Mirage aircraft successfully intercepted Russia cruise missiles. We have reported that the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a written and video statement on Monday, has said that what Ukrainians need is a true and honest peace deal and not endless war, just as President Donald Trump of the US and one of the world's richest billionaires, Elon Musk, have continued to use their privileged office and position in the society to launch a terrorist-like media cold war against the person of President Zelensky, apparently to weaken his zeal and cause public disaffection against the Ukrainian president by thus using dangerous, negative communication styles of half-truth, manipulated facts, deliberate misrepresentation of facts, misinterpretation of words, spin logic, bullying, game-shaming, blaming, belittling, mockery, and trying to hold Ukraine ransom by blocking U.S. military aid to the troubled country for a war. It appears Donald Trump is the first U.S. president that kick-started it by thus. The Trump administration first approved the sale of Javelin anti-tanks missiles to Ukraine in December 2017, after civil unrest ensued in Ukraine in 2014 with a protest codenamed Revolution of Dignity, which ousted and forced into exile in Russia the then pro-Russia president, Viktor Fedorovich Yanukovych, on February 22, 2014. Just a day after, President Vladimir Putin mobilized troops and invaded Ukraine, succeeded in taking over Ukraine territorial land of Crimea, an action the then US President, Barack Obama, retaliated by only placing sanctions on Russia assets for violating the constitutional rights of Ukraine. The 2017 action of Donald Trump was a step that former President Barack Obama never took, which Trump allies pointed to be a sign of Trump's toughness on Russia and good for US business, which giving Ukraine lethal weapons had been a red line for Obama, who feared that it could cause Russia to escalate conflict, which President Vladimir Putin-led Russia actually did. And Ukraine has been fighting Russian soldiers and Russia-backed armed separatists in its eastern provinces since 2014, shortly after Russia illegally occupied and annexed Crimea, in a war that has claimed approximately 13,000 lives and displaced 1.5 million people, according to the Ukrainian government before Volodymyr Zelensky became Ukrainian president in May 20, 2019 on the platform of Servant of the People political party, and before Zelensky became president, Putin violated 3 ceasefire peace deals under Donald Trump in January, February and March 2019, and as of December 2019, Ukrainian military reported a total of more than 70 ceasefire deals violated by Putin-led Russia. And during his inaugural speech on May 20, 2019, when Volodymyr Zelensky took office as president of Ukraine, he said his priority was a ceasefire in the Donbass, and also asserted that Crimea and Donbass are Ukrainian land, and that the people living in those regions are not strangers, they are ours, Ukrainians, truly. On December 9, 2019, the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, French President, Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor, Angela Merkel and Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky met in person in Paris, France, and agreed on a ceasefire and prisoners exchange, but, on same day, 3 Ukrainian soldiers were killed by a landmine by Russian-backed forces who violated the ceasefire 7 more times in December using BMP-1 armored vehicles, grenade launchers, heavy machine guns, and small arms. This Ukrainian military recorded additional 47 ceasefire peace deals violations in 2020, more than 180 ceasefire peace deals violations in 2021 until February 24, 2022. President Vladimir Putin declared full-scale war on Ukraine, describing U.S. government, previous and present he referred to as Washington during his war declaration nationwide address, as an empire of liars. We have reported that President Donald Trump of the United States, U.S. may be trying to cause unnecessary confusion to the traditional way of war settlements which date back to the end of World War I in 1918 and World War II in 1945, when Germany, considered as the aggressor, was made to pay damages or reparation or the costs incurred by the U.S., Britain, France and the Soviet Union, which comprises Russia, Ukraine and 13 other republics, when Germany on August 1, 1914 mobilized troops from Berlin to support the defunct Austria-Hungary country, which included German-speaking Austrians, Magyars, Slavs, and Italians after the Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia on June 28, 1914, following the bombing and shooting to death the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife, Sophie, the Duchess of Hohenberg, by a suspected group of extremists from Serbia that wanted to increase Serbian power in the Balkans by breaking up the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and the shooting specifically was carried out by a 19-year-old Gavrilo Princip. Russia came to the aid of Serbia, and with the support of other countries like Britain and France, Austria-Hungary was defeated after so many deaths, especially on the side of Serbia civilian populations. And at the end of the World War I, Germany was made to pay the damages and costs of war as the aggressor, and on September 1, 1939, Adolf Hitler of Germany, who is considered a nationalist extremist, on his apparent quest to expand Aryan race in Europe, invaded Poland, a border country whose people were considered inferior and powerless people, likely the same way Vladimir Putin of Russia may have seen Ukrainians. The action of Adolf Hitler forced Britain, France, US, and the Soviet Union to declare war on Germany on September 3, 1939, and they defeated Germany at the end of the World War II in 1945 after Adolf Hitler and his top generals refused to surrender and reportedly committed suicides inside their underground bunkers after millions of deaths, especially Jews, and in order to make Germany unable to attack another country again. Britain, France and US occupied West Germany, including West Berlin, for years with capitalist economy system, and at the same time, the Soviet Union occupied East Germany, including East Berlin, with communist economy system, and Germany, considered as the aggressor, was again made to pay the damages or the costs of the World War II, which Germany has struggled to pay up to 2010, and it may be clearer that no victim of World War I, Serbia and World War II, Poland was apparently made to pay debts or sign economic deals for the costs incurred by the countries that came to their aid. This may justify the action of Donald Trump requesting Ukraine to sign rare earth minerals deal with the US as criminally exploitative demand, and Donald Trump pushing the narratives that Europe will get their money back and US will not get its money back is seemly and half-truths made to mislead the public. Like President Emmanuel Macron of France recently corrected Donald Trump at the Oval Office that Europe is not getting the money back from Ukraine, that Russia is the one to pay them back the money, most especially from the seized Russia assets in Europe and the US under the immediate past. President Joe Biden seized billions of dollars of Russia assets confiscated to finance US aid to Ukraine. Interestingly, Vladimir Putin of Russia, who is also considered as a nationalist extremist like Adolf Hitler of Germany, on February 24, 2022, in a world news broadcast, made it very clear that he decided to declare special military operations in Ukraine because of US. That for many years, the US tried to expand its powers, stressing, he does not have problem with Europe or NATO, saying, NATO is the US foreign policy used by the North America to try to conquer Russia by thus enlisting some other countries that made up the defunct Soviet Union into NATO, and he would never allow US to assemble its military infrastructures in Ukraine, its closest neighboring country. Hence he decided to go after the pro-US Ukrainian politicians and government officials by demilitarizing Ukraine and reclaiming it as an independent territory he said was once part of Russia, adding that he mobilized Russian troops to invade and reclaim parts of Ukraine, which included Crimea, in 2014 in support of Russia-speaking people in Donbas he said was suffering humiliation and genocide attack by Kyiv government for many years, which President Volodymyr Zelensky in several occasions has accused Putin of always sponsoring and organizing terrorists to kill Ukrainians. We had reported that the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, has told United States, US President Donald Trump that Ukrainians don't need just a ceasefire from President Vladimir Putin-led Russia, but a complete end to the war, which Ukraine's security will be guaranteed from further or future invasions from the neighboring rival European country, adding that he was in the United States to sign rare earth mineral deals as drafted by both countries' teams, which included Ukraine's security guarantee, making this statement at the Oval Office on Friday afternoon according to America local time, when the meeting went smoothly, friendly and calmly for more than 35 minutes until the US Vice President, J.D. Vance, interrupted and brought in US internal political matters into the Russia-Ukraine issue by thus condemning the administration of the immediate past President of the US, Joe Biden, for always appearing before the press to accuse Putin and Russia of bringing destructions to Ukraine without an act of diplomacy to peace path, which he said the current president, Donald Trump, is trying to achieve. And the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, quickly responded and asked the US Vice President J.D. Vance what kind of diplomacy is he talking about, reminding the Vice President that Putin has been destroying lives in Ukraine for years during the era of previous presidents before Joe Biden, including 2014 when Russia took over Crimea to 2022 and 2019 during the first tenure of President Donald Trump when he signed a ceasefire peace deal with Putin, but the Russia president broke the ceasefire and continued to destroy lives in Ukraine. obviously and apparently annoyed, Vice President JD responded by accusing the visiting Zelensky of coming to the Oval Office to disrespect US sitting president in his office, adding that no president in the world has ever done that before in the Oval Office. The full length of the meeting video footage and the Fox News interview with Zelensky shortly after the Oval Office meeting ended with heated arguments and series of crosstalks are published in full in our audio and video versions of this news reportage. We had reported that contrary to media speculations that the embattled Ukraine has reached an agreement with the United States, US-led President Donald Trump on the rare earth minerals deal required as exchange or economic benefits for the US to continue to assist the war-torn Ukraine with military aid against ongoing President Vladimir Putin-led Russia military destructions and bring peace to the country. The Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, in a video press release on Wednesday night debunks the speculations, saying, "The US and the Ukrainian teams have been working together in preparation for the negotiations on the terms of the economic deal this coming Friday in the US, signaling, no agreement has been reached yet." We had reported that the United States President, Donald Trump, has said that if the war in Ukraine is not stopped now, it could lead or escalate to World War III, with the visiting French President, Emmanuel Macron, insisting that Russia is the aggressor of the war, hence Russia must pay damages as part of the negotiations for the peace deal. But the US, in another meeting at the United Nations General Assembly on Monday, joined Russia to vote against a resolution condemning Russia over the war in Ukraine. We had reported that, following the public criticism of President Donald Trump of the United States that the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, is a man who has lost touch with his people and a dictator who refused to conduct election for new leader to take over the affairs of the country. Zelensky, while asked if he could resign by a journalist at a press conference organized to mark the third-year anniversary of war in Ukraine, says he would do that if it would bring peace to Ukraine, and he's ready to do that as exchange for Ukraine to be enlisted as a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. We had earlier reported that despite the medical condition that he's under, the high flow of oxygen in the hospital over double pneumonia, Pope Francis on Sunday, on the eve of the third-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine launched by President Vladimir Putin-led Russia government, called on everyone in the world to remember victims of the war in Ukraine, describing the war which started on February 24, 2022 as painful, shameful for all humanity. Previously, we reported that the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, has continued his phone conversations with world leaders with a video and written press statement on Saturday saying that the world leaders must ensure that the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, is not allowed to deceive the world again, insisting that Putin has used Russian army, intelligence services and mercenaries over 30 years to bring deaths to America, Europe, Africa, Middle East, Syria. This, Zelensky stated after he began special defense campaign with phone conversations with world leaders following strained relationship with one of the countries that has majorly assisted Ukraine in its defense against Russia since 2022 when the war began, United States, US President Donald Trump, who threatened to stop military aid to Ukraine, claiming that Ukraine started the war it knows it cannot win, calling President Volodymyr Zelensky a modestly successful comedian and a dictator that deceived the immediate past US President, Joe Biden, to commit over $350 billion of US taxpayers' money on a war the North America country will not get any profit in return, with Ukrainian President accusing Donald Trump of disinformation and saying that Putin-led Russia. Federal High Court sitting in Kwara State has sentenced 2 Chinese nationals to 2 years imprisonment with an option of 1 million naira each, in addition to the payment of 14 million nairas to the federal government of Nigeria as royalties after the court found them guilty of committing the crime of illegal mining in the state without due approval from appropriate authority, just as men of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on Saturday arrested 31 others in Jos Plateau State over illegal mining, which included 27 Nigerians and 4 Chinese nationals. Details of the news reportage are presented below as reported by the Public Relations Unit of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Court jails 2 Chinese for illegal mining in Kwara. Justice Abimbola Awogboro of the Federal High Court, Aloran on Friday, March 7, 2025 convicted and sentenced 2 Chinese, Yang Chao and Wu Shan Xuan, to prison for illegal mining of solid minerals in Kwara State. They were convicted along with their company, Creus Chemical Nigeria Limited. They were prosecuted on a 1-count charge, bordering on dealing with illegal solid minerals mining. The charge reads, that Yang Chao, Wu Shan Xuan, and Creus Chemical Nigeria Limited, sometime in March 2024, within the jurisdiction of the Federal High Court, engaged in dealing with minerals without lawful authority, thereby committing an offense contrary to and punishable under Section 134(b) of the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act, 2007. They pleaded guilty when it was read to them, following which EFCC counsel, Seisan Ola, reviewed the facts of the case through a witness, an operative of the Commission, who tendered the defendants extrajudicial statements, a report from the Nigeria Geological Survey Agency, and the defendants' passports, all of which were admitted in evidence. Satisfied that the prosecution has proven its case beyond reasonable doubts, Justice Awogboro found the defendants guilty, convicted and sentenced them to 2 years imprisonment each or to pay 1 million nairas fine respectively. The 1 million nairas fine was also extended to the company. In addition to their sentences, the convicts are to remit the sum of 14 million nairas in royalties to the federal government, while all solid minerals found in the premises of the company, located at number 1, Idiok Road, along Ogunmaken Odid Road, Omi, Ogun State, were forfeited to the federal government. EFCC arrests 31 suspected illegal miners in Jos. Operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Kaduna Zonal Directorate on Saturday, March 8, 2025 arrested 31 suspected illegal miners in Jos, Plateau State Capital. They were arrested in the premises of Jasheng Nigeria Limited, located at Dura Rayfield, Mangu Road, Jos, following credible intelligence linking the company to illegal mining activities in the state. The arrested included 4 Chinese and 27 Nigerians, part of whom were suppliers in possession of unprocessed solid minerals, suspected to have been illegally mined. They are Liang Chinyong, Wang Waji, Jung Jajing, Long Kechong, Akilu Economy, Umar Mohammed, Aaron Devo, Awal Abdullahi, Haruna Umar, Prosper Godi, Alex Long, Matthew Onmaza, Upanzaku, Samson Luka, John Nwang and Saidu Muhammad. Others are Muhammad Musa, Abu Bakar Ibrahim, Muhammad Zaradin, Yakubu Adidzi, Isa Dahiru, Yusuf Musa, Benjamin D. Dalip, Ibrahim Wakili, Adam Muhammad, Abu Bakar Ahmed Marazu, Mutala Abu Bakar, Peter Yakubu, Ibrahim Musa, Monday Christopher and Bilal Musa. Items recovered in the premises upon the arrests included a truck loaded with 8 bags of processed monazite, weighing 1,000 kilograms, worth 4 million nairas each. They would be charged to court as soon as investigations are concluded.
Salisu Mohammed, bringing you the news in a more digital way.